There we go, we're live now. So 1 second guys, just quickly checking some stuff. So 2 people liked the stream before it even started. That's kind of funny. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the countdown screen. Yeah, so obviously posted some groom renders of this guy last night. He did it a lot better than I expected. Quite happy with the reaction to him. Obviously we've still got a lot of work to do, although the back is starting to work. The front nowhere near as much. We need to break up this section. We haven't even started really on this side, and then we need to start copying the fur quality from here onto the mane as well, or the fur neck. So before I get started, the thing I always need to do is this whole kind of series and this asset is based on this artwork by a guy called Rowan. In the first line of the description is a link to his art page. I recommend you check it out. I always like to credit him at the start because it is a really cool, good-looking creature. But yeah, so I'm gonna today. I'm not entirely sure if I'll spend the whole session on the ears. There are quite a few things to do. One of the things that's bugging me the most about the whole groom is currently this front section. It just feels really boring. We will be adding a separate groom for like matted clumps at some point, which will help quite a lot. But it's very boring. Like something that you'll see quite a lot on this front groom is it's just doing that. Like there's nothing going on. There's like a little bit of a curl there, but other than that, it's all just doing this. So at some point, we need to kind of go in and really add some variation to that, just to get it to actually look good. Even just a few crossing clumps will do enough. So that's something we'll get to at some point. Maybe today, maybe not. We'll see. Still need to really clearly define these sections. I also need to break up the hairline, which looks like the hair is too thick at the hairline, so that's something we'll need to address as well. And we've also got some random hairs growing out here, so we'll fix that too. But yeah, like the main focus would probably be the ears. So the reference that I've kind of got that I like the most is this dog. Obviously we've not gone that extreme on the clumps. We probably won't reach this level, like this stuff here. It's a bit too extreme for my taste. Maybe we can try it out and see how it goes. We've also got obviously our lion ref, the little monkey ref. I kind of dig the stray hairs on the inside of the ear, so maybe I'll add something like that in here. But if I do, that would probably be a separate groom, just because it's so wispy and different from this stuff. What else we got? This guy, the ears aren't really helpful on him. This horse, again, ears aren't really helpful. Kind of like the strays from this, but again, it's more about the fur inside the ear in this reference. But this reference is primarily for the front, because I need to figure out how to break up this line around the chin. Because currently, you can see we've got a perfectly clean, like, smiley face, basically. Like, we need to break that up because it's really quite boring to look at. Let me just move that over. But yeah, so we'll be looking at kind of the neck for this sort of stuff. Hey Andrew. So I don't think we really got any other references for the ears. Still, in the stream yesterday, I realised that this lion's got ticks in his ears. It's kind of gross. But yeah, and at some point as well, we do need to add this sort of feature to the back and the sides where, it's kind of smooth. Well, it's quite coarse looking, but generally speaking, quite smooth flows, and then this really scraggly section where all the clumps are completely broken up. But yeah, so this is our main ref for today. I'll just be working on the back of the ears primarily, and then we'll kind of see if anyone has anything they want me to go over in particular. Like if we do finish up the ears, and people want me to move on to any specific part, let me know. Yeah, so let's get started with it. Currently the ears are 100% symmetrical, so we can actually get away with really a lot of stuff. So I'm going to work on just this side for now, just because this is the side I'm treating most. Like this is the side I've worked on for the head. I haven't touched this one, so I'm going to do the same with the ears. I'm just going to get this, mirror it over, and then probably fix this side, just because then we have kind of a bulk of the head, like from these angles, would be working. We just then need to fix the front and the neck. Hey Francisco. Yeah, so let's get started. Again, if anyone has any questions, do let me know. So let's turn that off. So first thing we're going to need to do really is figure out if we want to keep the current length that we have. If I wanted to match this, I'm going to have to go a lot longer. Like for this stuff, we're going to have to go like 2 or 3 times the scale, probably closer to 2, because I think these hairs are deceptively long, but visually they're not particularly long, so I do want to do something. I'm not sure on adding this kind of frayed. Can you draw on PureRef? I'm not sure if you can. Yeah, I'm not sure you can. But yeah, so I'm not too sure on these like strays that kind of change the silhouette of the ear, where it kind of goes down, out, and down, and kind of continues the silhouette out. I'm not too keen on that, so I'll ignore that. But I think these curly clumps are kind of cool. So let's give those a go. I'm going to save my scene as an alt save. So that's version 27. And then let's go in and start. There we go. So select all these guides. This guide I'm not 100% sure on being part of that selection, but we'll test it out, see if it works. Yeah, you can go as well. And then definitely these ones. I'm just trying to figure out which guides I want to be scaled. Obviously I'm going to have to do some blending afterwards. Thanks man, I'm glad you like the way the groom is currently going. So let's do that. I'm going to pull these ones back. I'm going to have it be more focused around this area, and then we're going to have to do a little bit of blending. There's no point waiting until the end to start blending it. I'm just going to quickly do a length blend. It's nothing particularly special to length blending it, it's just scaling the guides to be more even. So let's go one guide at a time and start figuring these out. So the ref has some pretty crazy stuff going on. I'm going to need to resample these a lot. Where is it? Rebuild. Let's go to 8 CVs. There we go. And it was this guide I was working on. So let's do something like. I even need to go longer. Let's just see what we can get out of this. So we're not going to get a perfect match on that dog ear, just because there's so much going on, and obviously once I've got this first block out done, I'm going to have to account for the actual right on time today. Nice. But yeah, so obviously once I've done this initial blocking, I'm going to have to kind of move stuff around so that it can fit with the head groom. The head groom is going to interact a lot with this. Like, you wouldn't get this forming naturally if the head was straight. Obviously it's not, but again, we need to account for the flows. So let's get you, and I'm going to break this guy. And this guy. For these guides that are kind of circling here, I'm not too worried about if they cross paths, because I feel like they would. So I'm going to allow that and see how that looks. This might look super weird. Let's just quickly test how this new length works. Oh, that's the wrong groom. But yeah, we're going to have to figure out a way to blend with that, so it's going to be a bit tricky. Ears. Right. Obviously, we'll be doing the kind of force shape thing that we were doing the other day. I feel like all the fur in the ears needs to be longer. Let's just scale the whole ear. Only a little bit. I don't want to break it, but we can always correct it. But I feel like that helps get the right clump shape. This might sound silly, but I had absolutely no idea that you can Control Alt S to create a new version. Yeah, it's a lifesaver. Control Alt S, increment and save. For anyone who doesn't know or didn't catch that in the chat, increment and save. Control Alt S. That will just add a number to the end. Someone's trying to break into my Facebook account tonight. So I've had so many password reset requests. It's really annoying. I've already gone in and kind of updated everything and made sure it's secure, but still. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on my security. One sec, let me just open security login. I'll leave that open in the background. But yeah, someone's like desperately trying to get into my accounts at the moment. I've been getting Facebook security requests for like the last, I don't know, hour, 2 hours. Yeah, I do need to get Dashlane really. I might buy it tonight or tomorrow. Oh, not tonight because I'm working on the stream. Yeah, luckily I use unique passwords, so I'm not too worried about that sort of stuff. Let's figure out this section. See, strictly speaking, if I wanted to match the ref, I'm going to need a lot of this area to curl down. So maybe this guy doing that isn't correct. Maybe we should just have him. And let's grab you, make you more interesting. So I'm kind of improvising this quite a lot. Granted, I'm quite distracted by the fact that every couple of minutes my phone lights up saying that they've had a fucking security request. Apparently that's happening to quite a few people at the moment though. Yeah, I've got a VPN. I use NordVPN whenever I'm like on public Wi-Fi and that sort of stuff. I have it installed on my phone and on everything else as well. Should get 5 devices, and for some reason no one in my family wanted one, so I was like, alright, cool, I'll just use it on all my devices. Let's see if that's working. Got a feeling this isn't going to work. Like visually it's not going to work that well. I might go back on this. Here works. Here not too sure. Oh no, it doesn't work at all for me. Okay, I'm going to undo this by going back to my save. Not entirely keen on that. We can kind of try to get some visual inspiration from this with the shapes, but let's not match the length. That looks like it's not going to work. Right, so let's just turn on Ace's viewport. Alright, so let's keep the current length, but tweak the shapes a bit. So hide for the head. So we might need to do some work on the might need to do some work on the modifiers to start getting what we want. First off, I do need to scale the ear though. I may as well scale this side too, one minute. Just because I did like the length increase that we got, so just do that. So it shouldn't be enough to break the bottom of it. Let's just check that with her head. Yeah, it doesn't break this stuff. I need to straighten that out, but other than that, it doesn't really affect it. But it does allow us to get more like prettier clumps up here. I'm still not 100% sure on density. I feel like density should actually be lower. Like there should be quite a lot of skin, because obviously looking at this guy, we can see, you know, quite a bit of subsurface, and naturally we're not going to get that on this guy because his ears are super thick. But hey Yuri. But yeah, so 1 second. Yeah, there's my phone going again. Yeah, last time someone tried was February and then November, but today alone someone's tried to get into my account 8 times. As I said, I've changed my password anyway, just in case. But and I've got the active logins page basically like constantly open. So frustrating. Anyway, so yeah, we're not going to be able to get this subsurface just because we've got quite thin ears, unless we put the sun like in the same room. But having less coverage might look nice. So I'm going to quickly test that out. I'm going to just reduce the density of this guy. So let's try half density, which is probably going to be too much, but we can see. I'm just going to tell you got a very cool result. Thanks, man. I'm glad you like it. And to be honest, I'm really genuinely surprised at the reaction. Oh, that's the wrong room. I'm really genuinely surprised at the reaction that he's got. Like, I knew that the back of the head looks alright, but I didn't think it looked like as good as the reaction it's got. Like, there's some really fucking good artists that are saying it's nice, which is quite nice when that happens. Let's change this. But yeah, thank you very much, Yuri. Appreciate it. Right, so that's half density. Obviously, we'll need to fade the density on the inside of the ear. Actually, might work. Let me just try doing a render with this. With this sort of stuff, you have to do test renders. Like, you can't get away with not test rendering this sort of stuff. So let's. I'm gonna hide basically all the grooms, including this guy, I guess. In fact, no, I'll keep him. I'll just hide all the others, just so they don't generate. Renderman, IPR. Is there a way to debug your hair's width, like knowing on the technical manner if your hair width is correct? I don't think there is, just because the numbers are arbitrary. That's alright, it makes sense. I understood what you were trying to say. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh, we're going to need to render before and after actually for this to work. I also need to turn the. Well, actually, should I turn that around? One sec, I'm just trying to figure out. I'm going to turn the light. Render group, light, channel box. And let's set this to 180. And then let's go back into the IPR. But yeah, so hair width is arbitrary in most tools, I think. XGen's width, I don't know if it's based on a real, like if it is based on something, it'll be on centimeters. But, you know, I mean, human hair width is measured in microns. And to be fair, density is really easy to check. Density, you can find out the exact count of hairs that you've got. So if you get the correct density to, like, you know, for someone with brown hair you're looking at 80,000, with someone with blonde hair you're looking at 120,000, blah 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 blah. If you get that density number correct, which you can check in the log, then you can be pretty sure that when you make the width look correct with that density, that you've probably got the correct width. I'm going to try putting this back up to 1,000 and re-rendering. We'll do a before and after of low density, high density. I also still haven't figured out how to get rid of the ID channels when it renders. It's really annoying. There's a lot of stuff I still need to learn with this render engine, to be fair. I need to fix my keyboard. There we go. But yeah, so just changing the density. Obviously our shapes get a lot more defined. I should probably put a temporary material on the skin so we can tell, because currently we're rendering grey on grey. But you can see what it does to the hair, like just increasing the density. Like our clumps get a lot more defined because, you know, there's physically more hairs clumping. They block more light, so the shadows get deeper. I think if we go with a lower density, we get that softness in, which is quite pretty. We're still missing all that random breakup, although we lose quite a few strays, so I'll have to compensate for that. I think I prefer the soft version. So I'm going to reduce the density to half what it currently is, although I need to check the actual coverage. It's not necessarily that important, and I can always map it so that the bottom of it is full density. But yeah, let's keep the half density. We can always increase it back up later. What will probably happen is when I assign the look dev, like once we got to the point where the groom, where I want to start rendering with skin look dev, my renders will suddenly dive. Once we got to that stage, we can start, what's the word I'm looking for? We can start like double checking densities and widths and all that sort of stuff, because obviously they affect the shading as well. So let's turn that off, minimize you a little bit. So it's not the highest quality reference. Let's see if we can get another one actually. Drag that there. Let me get Google. So if I go in dog is, let's see what we can find. This is kind of cool. It's got that like flicked up hair, which I'm not sure I want. Pretty sure these are the same breed of dog actually. Looks like they are. I really love that little like flick of like a little clump at the end. It's really cool. Really want to make sure I get that in my final groom. This guy's cool. That's not real, surely. Let's search for long fur. It's not really long fur that we have on our character, but let's search fluffy. That's cool. It wouldn't work on this character, but it's cool. I feel like if you matched this perfectly, people would say your groom looks really CG, just because those clumps are so tight, but they've got this like random tuft of short, straight hair at the bottom that's really frazzled. But then you got these really thin, long clumps with almost no noise. It looks really thick. Like this is a groom artist's worst nightmare, because like this sort of asset would get pixel fucked, like beyond belief. because it has to be. They already look fake as they are. That's super interesting. Again, it looks kind of fake in like areas like this one. It looks like it's intersecting. So one of the frustrating things about grooming. That's such a golden retriever is. I think they've got about the right amount of fluff that I want. Right, so this is pretty good. This is cool. Although it's a bit too flat for what we're doing. We need quite clumpy, not this clumpy. We need something with quite a bit of breakup. This could be kind of interesting. What can we find? I think generally what we look at, I might actually have to increase the density again, because if I'm going to go for something like this, we might need that definition. But weirdly, it looks like a lot of the hair clumps, but they're really flat. There's almost no breakup to the actual clumps themselves. Like, I don't mean hairs breaking away from the clumps, I mean purely the clumps themselves look like they have very little breakup. Poor boy. There's another password email, someone asking to reset my password. Oh. I hate the headline, but this is quite an interesting. What about you? Too low res. Let's search for high res images. I'm not going to look at that. Kind of like this soft feeling, so I might try to go for something like this. I'm gonna drag that off screen. Alright, so what we're gonna need? We're gonna need a bit more length, I think. We might be able to get away with this amount of length. Let's just start removing modifiers first. I think I'm trying to do too much before I've got the fundamentals strong. So let's check our flows. I don't know why these clumps are doing that, but got to deal with it, I guess. So the small clumps are too wide, I think. So what are they currently set to? 48. Let's go with 64. And then let's increase that a little bit. There we go. Oh, it's Sam Rowan. Hey man. I think this is the first time you've dropped by on this asset. Thanks for letting me. Thanks for giving me permission to actually like check out to start working on it. It's been really fun, man. Right, so this is about. Maybe this needs to go wider. Or not wider, the opposite actually. Let's generate that again. But yeah, so that Sam Rowan guy who just commented in the chat, he's the creator of the original artwork. Again, as I always say, go check out his art page. It's the first line of the description for this video and all the other videos in this series. I think this is working better now. Although we might need to deactivate that and get some tightness in. That helps a lot. Okay, so we're going to have to find a way to get some more coverage at the root. Maybe something like that. No, that doesn't work. Might have to use my favorite trick. Let's go to fur head. So let's grab this guy. And back to fur ears. And because we're not using a mask yet, we can just plug this in. And let's have. So this is currently doing the opposite of what we want. This is going to make it so that only 2% of hairs clump. So let's do something like that. 74% of hairs are clumping. Cool. So we're gonna need. So this sort of thing presents an interesting problem. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. Let me see if I can color preview. So obviously we've got very cleanly defined. Let me actually just go into the head. So we've got very cleanly defined clumps. At the bottom, like these colors are very strong, right? And as we go up, they become less strong. Like you can see how this batch of green aren't really clumps to each other, and that's because we've got the clumps turned off. The problem is this middle ground where you can see their clumps together, but it's not particularly strong. So it's just like square clumps. So if I turn off the color preview again, you end up with these. I don't know how well you can see it. Let me see if I can turn on ambient occlusion, see if that helps. That doesn't help that much, but you see that, like, you should hopefully be able to see these like square shapes. Maybe I can strengthen it with this guy. Do that. Yeah, so now you can see them. So you got these like really horrible square shapes. There's plenty of ways to break those up. However, one thing I very strongly recommend is that in your clump maps, so let's just show the guides, hide this, and then go back into paint this map. Try to avoid grey areas. So obviously in this case I blocked it out with a great big grey area, so we're going to have a lot of difficulties with it. So rather than use grey to say, oh, this area is half clumping, a different way to approach it, and this can be a nightmare for symmetry because obviously you have to repaint it every time. But rather than use grey, how do you enable multicolor strands? Oh, in every clump modifier you've got clump preview, which just allows you to it colors the hair based on that clump. So I'll get back to that in a second. But yeah, so in terms of the maps, I was going to say, go into, let's turn off the stylus pressure. So what you can do is just paint this area to black. Something like that. So we've now got like no grey values. I mean, obviously we do have some grey values, but from the filtering and textures and that sort of stuff. But this will result in, if I save this, extend that. So if I show this now, you're going to find that we've got sharp clumps and then no clumps, especially if I turn this off. So yeah, we've got sharp clumps and then we've got no clumps, and we don't want that. That's too extreme, obviously. So the best thing we can do to blend, if you don't want those square clump tips, and this is kind of a trick that I haven't really taught anywhere else, so hopefully you guys are able to kind of use this to great effect. Let's just hide the hair. Rather than blend with color, i.e. use gray values, blend with texture. And what I mean by that is get a distribution of solid white and black values that slowly tapers out. So if I do something like this, so you'll get what I mean when I start getting further through this. Do something like that, and then going with black and just pull this top section. You'll find that, you know, visually we look at this and we can see, okay, all the clumps are clumping. Okay, roughly 50% of them are clumping because anything that's in white is clumped, anything that's in black is not clumped. And then as it goes up, it gets more and more black, but not using value, just using the distribution of the values. And that will result in a different kind of clump breakup. It won't look perfect on its own. It needs a lot of help. But you see how now we're getting like hints of clumps going through? We might be a bit low res on the Pt.14. I need to still get to the bottom of why that's breaking. But that will kind of give us a slightly more natural breakup. There's not a clean line anymore, and your eye is really good at finding clean lines and stuff. So if you break stuff up like that, and now I add my second layer of clumping in, it hides a lot better. We still need to blend it a bit further up, so let's go in and do that. So let's just go and add this. Maybe pull the black further down as well, so just do like stuff like that. You can literally just add like black dots to have some hairs that don't clump at all. Save that. But yeah, this is something that I use very heavily when professionally grooming. I find it gives just a different effect. It avoids those square clumps. So one thing that I can say, there we go. So you see how much better that works now? We've got a blend, but we're not actually blending values, so we don't have those horrible squares anymore. We just have a transition. You do still get, you know, artifact, well, not artifacts, but the downside to it is you get like this weird grey area. Hey, Aaron. But I find this looks a lot more natural. Once you've got your noises and stuff, that makes it feel a lot more natural. But as I was saying though, one of the things that really gives away a beginner groom, and something I can't stress highly enough, is clumps are very rarely square. Like, you can get broken up clumps, and you can get square-ish clumps in real life. They can happen. But most of the time, clumps aren't broken by pure noise, just making them wider at the tip. They're normally broken by sub-clumps kind of coming out, or the length of the hair like cutting away. So try to get a clump. In fact, I can draw that. That will make a bit more sense. So this stream's become more of a lesson than a stream. But yeah, so you know, you got your clump. It looks like that. It's beautiful, and you want to break that clump up. So what most people do is throw a noise on there, which does that. Obviously, it kind of does it with noisy lines, but ultimately the clump profile just does that. If you add a bit of cut, then it produces a square line that's just like that, but that's still square fundamentally. So for me, the best way to break these sorts of clumps is you get this, then you add your sub-clumping, which will do that sort of stuff, and then you break those sub-clumps out. So you have like some clumps come further down, some further down, and then you add your cut off, and the cut will affect all of it, and what you end up with is a broken clump that's not square. You end up with basically any other shape than square, and that will always, for me, feel a lot more natural. Every single time that'll feel more natural. So try to break up your clumps using texture, not value, and don't rely on noise to do it, because noise on its own is overused. It's really heavily overused. If we look at this ref, for example, we don't see any perfect clumps anywhere. We only ever see clumps like this one where like a second clump is breaking out and like curling at the tip, or like this one where it kind of does a sudden kink, and that's like super tight ones. Over here we get two clumps side by side, which arguably make a square, but it's visibly broken up. It's not a square silhouette. It's two like triangles making that. You won't really find a square clump anywhere on this ref, even down here. Like the closest thing to square we got is this guy, and he's again 2 clumps that are side by side. It's not a square clump. Let me see if I can find any. So again, like looking through this, we can find some shapes that are vaguely square, but they've all got this like really large breakup that prevents them from actually reading as a square tip. I think that's something incredibly important. It's even something that like you see professional grooms that have that, and normally that's down to not having enough time to stop it. But like even a groom like this, like, you know, this is relatively square, but it's got this clump down here, and then it's a big triangle here with phrase at the end. So it's not like it doesn't produce a square visually. It produces a broken kind of tapered edge. How do you break up subclumps like that? It's just a case of adding noise to your clumps. Don't break up with pure noise, unless you got a low density like this, in which case you can probably break it up with pure noise. But yeah, but you'll be very hard pressed to find a square, like actually genuinely square shape in a natural groom. Let's meet at the Rosewood. Hey Gregors, how you doing? It's been a while since I saw you actually. Montreal last time, right? Let me just quickly check something. Yeah, I did. I was checking if I've clipped the audio. But yeah, so that's kind of the. If you take away anything from this stream, it's like general groom knowledge. Avoid squares in your grooms. It will always feel more natural. It will make your grooms look a lot more professional. And that goes to anyone. Like obviously, there's a lot of professional groom artists that use square clumps and use them to great effect. But I've never really seen them in reference. Yeah, so noise in the subclump modifiers. So if you go into clump 2, you can add noise in here and just break that up. Just make sure that you never use a block value in this, always use a round in some way. But yeah, so that's how I break up. So just to sum up, because we've had 4 people join since I started talking about that. When breaking up clumping, don't use values in your maps, or at least, you know, after blocking, don't use values. Try to use actual textural breakup, and that results in not creating square clumps, but creating breakup. So we've got a smooth blend between these levels of clumping, despite the fact we're not actually blending anything value-wise. It's all 1 or 0. It's really binary, the maps. And that produces a blend which visually reads a lot nicer to me. But yeah, anyway, let's start. So something I want to do is start figuring out how much hair we want. Sam Rowan is my hero. That's cool, man. There's quite a few names here that I don't recognise. Welcome to the stream, guys. So let me find that reference I was looking at. There we go. So just checking some stuff off screen. For anyone who's new to the stream, my Facebook's been under attack for the last couple of hours. Someone's been trying to get into it, so I've got the I've updated passwords and all that sort of stuff to like unique ones, but I keep getting emails saying, here's your password reset. It's like, really, fuck off, like, stop trying. But yeah, so something I want to do, and it's technically a bit early, but something I really want to do, in fact I might actually increase the amount of cut just slightly. Let's set this to auto update. Cool. So I'm going to add a little bit of noise to my clump. I'm also going to use a pre-made expression. Load other noise magnitude, and this just allows me to do strays and regular noise in the same subclump. So that gets us stuff like this. But let's try getting some breakup. So frequency we're going to want to set relatively high. It might be too high, to be honest. You should do two-step verification. I do have two-step verification. I've been getting texts and emails constantly with password resets. It's all set up. Like I've got every possible security turned on. It's just someone's really trying to use my email to get into my Facebook. Yeah, it's connected to my phone. Everything's every security measure is in place, so there's not really much more I can do. So we're going to need a map to drive these strays a little bit. I'm going to increase the effect on every hair. Let's turn off strays for now. Let's just get this working first. There we go, that's feeling a little bit better. So, let's add some strays in there. I really feel like I want to connect this to a map so I can paint more strays down here and less up here. I definitely need to set the magnitude to be driven by a map, or the stray magnitude to be driven by a map. In fact, let me see if I can do that now. Create map. I'm going to call this one fur is 01. Oh, fur is 01. Clump 02. Stray noise. And I'm going to fill that to, let's fill it to white and set map res to 1 because anything above that crashes for some reason. Still haven't figured out why that is. Cool. That obviously breaks everything else, but that's fine. So all we need to do is paint this guy. And then for this, I'm not going to use, I'm going to use values for this. So let's set the opacity quite low. It still amazes me that, that the artisan tool doesn't paint through anything. There we go. That might be all we need. So let's save that texture. Xgen. And then save this texture. Cool. And then let's just go into here. And can I load that anymore? Let me just create a temporary noise. I'm just going to copy paste it from somewhere else. So let's load that expression. Noise magnitude mapped. Nope, I'm doing the wrong thing. Grab this guy. Close that. Go back to clump 2. And let's replace cut. There we go. And then we can get rid of these. And then because I just want that to drive the actual stray noise and not the noise itself, I'm going to need to add that. So I need to reread this and relearn it. So I don't want map strength in this guy. Because actually I do want map strength. But I'm just going to call it, oh, it is stray magnitude. Okay, so let's get rid of that. So I just need to add this, multiply that by the noise map, and then do the same to you. So we can get rid of all of this. Got you in your own brackets. Multiply you by noise map, close brackets, and I think that will work. So now, basically, our stray noise will be turned down towards the tip. So if I set this to be like stupid high, so it like kind of tapers down. Do something like that. And then I need to increase these a fair bit. This path doesn't exist. Oh, I need to delete you, that's why. Right, so let's turn off strays again. Oh, we can turn off the map. I don't think I actually have that connected anymore though. I don't have that connected anymore, so let's disable you. Cool, so that's the noise off, and that's the strays off. So let's get this looking the way we want first. I think that's a bit too strong at the moment. And then let's just crank percent straight up so we can just see purely what it's doing. So this is what the strays look like. And let's crank those up a little bit. I like what they do down here. But we need to turn it down now. Let's change the stray seed. Cool. I could also customize it so that my my stray percentage is defined by a map rather than defined by this number. Right, so I need some more guide work. Let's hide the hair. I'm going to save actually because it's been a little while. So let's just check in a few things. Alright, so guide work. First off, let's just fix this. There we go, I'll taper in all of them now. So what areas aren't working? Let's go in, check this out. So we've got a flat spot here, which we'll need to fix. We also need to add our noise back in, but we'll leave that for a little bit. So we need to fix that flat spot, and I think we need some more variation here, flow-wise. I don't know how well it comes across in stream, but it's basically all just going like this. It's quite boring to look at. We have a little bit of flow variation there, but that's kind of accidental through noise. So we just need to add a little bit of a curl. Get something interesting going on in that area, and the reason it's happening is because we've got identical guides with a big gap between them. So let's try adding let's add a guide there, and then Is there a way to solve subclumping error, XGen zeroing a pixel? You're gonna have to give that a Google, because I don't know off the top of my head. There's some really great resources out there though. XGen's quite a well-known groom tool at this point, but yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know how to fix that. I mean, the thing is, I'm not a very technical user of XGen. I am pretty fresh with XGen, I guess. Professionally, I never really used it that much. I'd occasionally use it to block out some guide work just because of how fast it is, but I didn't. Obviously, MPC doesn't use XGen. It uses its own tool called Fertility, which is public information, so I'm allowed to say that much. I can't tell you anything about it, but all I can say is that I don't use XGen really. So as far as technical details, I don't really know how it works. I try to learn as much as I can though. So let's just quickly, I know I'm in the wrong area right now, but let's just give that a little backcall. Can you do feathers with XGen? Can you? Technically, yes. Should you? Absolutely not. XGen is not. It doesn't have a feather system. The closest thing it has is the archive system, and so you'd have to make a feather as a model or as a groom, and then turn it into geometry and archive that. And it's not very clean. If you want to do feathers, I heavily recommend either Yeti or Natrix. Yeti is the one that I know does really well. The work from Yuri Dilic kind of proves that. The ostriches that he did and that sort of stuff, it shows what it's capable of. But XGen is not good for feathers. It's great at faking feathers with groom, but to be fair, any groom system can do that. Maybe that's something I can go over in a future stream, is faking feather, the look of feathers using fur. Because it's something I've done quite a few times. There's a guide right there. In terms of where I'm placing these guides, I'm not picking at random. I'm looking for the biggest gaps I can find on the mesh. I will be doing a second pass where I start placing guides intentionally close together just to part fur. Because guide work is a very good way of kind of forcing shapes. I mean, that's literally what it's built for, so shouldn't be too surprised with that. But have you seen his owl? Yeah, I've seen his owl. It's really, really nice. Yuri does really great work. He's popped by the stream a few times. He popped by earlier today in this stream, which is kind of cool. But he does really good stuff. Houdini is also great for feathers, actually. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Houdini is pretty good. I think Jesus is currently working on a feather tutorial for Houdini as well, which will no doubt increase the amount of people that do it. His tutorials have quite a far reach. So let's do that. Plans to do a bird anytime soon. Is that a question to me, or is that a statement about yourself? Because if it's a question to me, I'm not currently planning on doing a bird anytime soon. It's not really something I'd enjoy doing, to be honest. I don't like feather work that much. I've done it quite a few times. I've made like ostriches and that sort of stuff. But feather work is something that I prefer to keep to the fun stuff in my personal work. Like, I can do feathers, I can enjoy them, but if I'm gonna spend my free time doing grooms, I'd rather do something that I know I'll enjoy, which is this sort of groom. I love doing this type of groom. The really clumpy, wavy stuff. It's a lot of fun. We need another guide here. You should. No, I shouldn't. Yeah, Sam Rowan popped by earlier. It's really cool. He didn't know that I was doing these streams. I was pretty sure that when I started the streaming thing, I was like, oh, here, like this is, I'm using it for a stream. Apparently not, but I was pretty sure I did say that. But yeah, in terms of whether or not I should do a feather groom, I've got no obligation to do a feather groom. There's many resources out there that show how to do it. If I don't enjoy doing it in my free time, then I see no reason to do it. Um, I'm doing this personal work to kind of have a bit of fun with it and teach people as I go. Um, but yeah, I've got my professional work to show that I can do feathers. I don't need to do it in personal work as well. Although if you do want to learn it, I'm more than happy to recommend resources. As I said, Jesus Fernandez is currently working on feather tutorial. Yuri Dulwich probably has some pretty helpful material out there. But yeah, I'm just not too interested in doing it myself. Maybe when I get Yeti, because eventually I will get Yeti. Whenever I get that, I'll probably start doing a little bit of feather work. But currently I'm using only XGen at home, and that is a nightmare for feathers, so I'm not going to do it in that. Let's do something like that. I'm just trying to fill some areas now. Let's pull that forward a little bit and do the same with him. Do you prefer placing guides for work with rumble spines, and why? I prefer to place guide work. I find guides a lot easier to control, a lot less frustrating to work with. But I do use grumble splines as well. So, for example, on this groom, I've got two grooms in this scene that use grumble splines. I've got the peach fuzz on the face, and I've got the body groom as well. Let's get rid of this guy. Yeah, the peach fuzz on the face and the body groom as well. They're both groomable splines, just because short fur, it doesn't really make much sense to do short fur with guides. Like, I've seen people do peach fuzz with guides, and to me that's just suicide. Where do you work? I currently work at NPC. I'm a generalist in the previs department, but I was a groom artist at NPC for about 2.5 years. Let's go into channels. That's 0.8 again. This guy is a bit boring. This one doesn't make much sense either, so we'll have to kind of add some context to him. We also need a guide here. Did you try other hair plugins, the Yeti or Natrix and all those? On Natrix, I've not had the pleasure of working with yet. I know it's really good, and I've used it as like a one-off, like model placement stuff, but I've not used it for grooming really. But Ornatrix I know is a really solid tool. I just need to get in touch with the guys and be like, hey, can I get a trial of this or something before I buy it? In terms of Yeti, it's been quite a few years, but I did used to use Yeti when I was at university. They had licenses there, so I kind of enjoyed playing about with it. I actually made some tutorials, well, a tutorial for Yeti back when I was using it on my website. So, but that was just about comping. Back when I started using Yeti, there was only one resource for Yeti. Shaven haircut is something I've not really used. I don't really plan on using shaven haircut, to be fair. It's just, from what I can tell from the outside, it looks quite restrictive in how clumping works. I was on the Maya beta for Ornatrix, very good. Yeah, Ornatrix does look incredible. It looks like it's really worth learning. I just haven't got around to it yet. So a quick note to make. So I was saying earlier how noise on hair isn't that important to the look of a groom. And obviously, when I say they're very kind. Yeah, I will do it. I'm friends with one of their main testers, Andre. So I'll get in touch with them at some point. Maybe for a future stream series, I can use a different groom tool each time. That would be quite fun. If I get in touch with the guys at Yeti and hey, if I can get a couple months free trial, I'll produce some learning material or something. But yeah, so as I was saying, though, it was shaven haircut. The clumping system looks quite restrictive. As far as I'm aware, it only allows 2 layers of sub clumping, and you don't have full control of each one individually. You can't do I mean, this isn't overly free either, but at least you got the expressions. I might be wrong. I'm sure if Joe Alter watches this, I might get a little message explaining how stuff works and the strengths of it, because it's definitely a good tool. Dan Rorty actually uses, or at least used to use it. I think he still uses shaven haircut, and he gets some great results. But you know, if I'm going to use tools, I'm going to go for the ones that are kind of the most widespread. Um, but yeah, I'm sure it's a fantastic tool. I mean, shaving haircut is one of the oldest tools, right? It's like a lot of stuff. Um, like a lot of the way artists work kind of comes from that, I guess. Um, but yeah, as I was saying though, one thing I did forget to come back to. So I was saying earlier how noise isn't that important to grooms, like clumping and clump noise and the breakup in that is more important. This is kind of not proof because this isn't good yet. I say yet as if it will be good. But this isn't really in a good state at the moment. But we're not using noise yet. Like we've got this far without using noise. Joe Alton knows where you live. I'm sure he can find out. But yeah. So I've not got noise turned on at the moment. King Kong. King Kong. What? Shaven haircut was used for King Kong? If so, that's really fucking cool. But yeah, so when we add noise, the noise is just kind of drying the hair basically. But fundamentally, you see how this noise isn't really doing anything. Granted, this isn't the final noise. We still need to like get it working fully. But you can see how little I'm using that noise to do. Like fundamentally, the groom at even this distance doesn't change look that much. It will get a little bit rougher at render time. Okay, so difficult question from Gregors. God, how do you find action when you need to make short fur with displacement? I've not personally done displacement with XGen yet. It's something I'll need to tackle when I'm doing the peach fuzz on the face. So I'll let you know if I find a way to work with it. But at the moment, I don't know if there's a way to use displacement in XGen. But if you're talking for like adding veins and that sort of stuff, because I'm imagining you're using a mesh that's already fairly high res. Like this guy isn't particularly high res. He's like I think 16 or 20,000 polygons for the upper body, which isn't really that much. So I'm going to have to contend with a few volume changes at render time. But obviously, if you're doing like veins and stuff, I'm trying to add. Yeah, so workflow. I don't know how big the delay is today. The chat's really active today. So yeah, I don't really know how XGen works with displacement. It's something I need to look into. Is there a modifier for it? Where could it be? Where would it be? Could it be plugged into collision? Would that be something that works? Let's add that. No, you can't. If you're interested in Yeti, go to Gabriella website. She's a 2D frame store, gives an amazing insight. Yeah, I mean, I know how to use Yeti. I have used it. I know the fundamentals of it. It's just been a few years since I used it, and I've not used it since I was a professional. So you know, obviously, if I went to it now, I'd have a bit of a different perspective on things. Because I did use it when I was pretty fresh to groom. I think my fourth ever groom or fifth ever groom was in Yeti. And the tutorial that I made back then, although is technically accurate, like the visual results aren't that good. For now, I use the full HD geometry and Houdini for the groom. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is the workaround, is you can put your groom onto a high-res mesh. Like, if you decimate your sculpt and put it on that, if you're just doing a still, that would be fine. I don't know, I mean, obviously in Pipeline, that would be a nightmare. You'd have to, like, wrap deform it to your animated mesh, but then wrap deforming a high-res to a low-res sounds like an awful, awful thing, and it won't match anyway. But yeah. Let's work on the noise a little bit. So, get this guy in place. I'm going to move him up above the cut. Which, by the way, the position of your modifiers matters. Generally, I like to do my clumping, then a cut, and then add my noises. Just because, like, in my head, the noise is the hair reacting to, like, external features. The cut is, like, a fundamental aspect of the hair itself. So when I'm adding this noise, I want to make sure that the actual hair itself is settled. But I guess quite a nice effect. I might need to increase the, where's the frequency? There it is. Oh, frequency is actually quite high. Let's put 3 in that. No, I need to increase the CVs, modify CV count. Okay, oh, this is going to get a bit weird now. Let's go to 12. Okay. I need to turn that off. Right, okay. So I need to change the frequencies of my noises a little bit. If I remember correctly, displacement finger action is part of the primitives tab at the lower. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, displacement. Use vector displacement mounts. Yeah, so you'd have to bake a P-text then, wouldn't you? Okay, so that mean you have to be. Does that mean your displacement then would have to be baked to? Well, I guess you can make a P-text from UDIMs, right? On the surface direction is affected by the bump value. Okay, cool. Can you use the node editor to groom an action? No, not as far as I'm aware. There might be some little hacks out there to do it, but as far as I'm aware, you can't. I'm going to increase the CV count of this, and then I can decrease it later, because I want to make sure the values I'm using are actually correct. Let's go into modifiers. I'm going to go back to that noise. I'm going to decrease the frequency. Let's go to 1.5. That's looking a little bit better. We need to get some clump twist. That will give us a really nice effect. Yes, it still works with P-text, so no one uses it, I guess. Easier to make the model heavier. Yeah, making the model heavier sometimes is just kind of an unavoidable aspect. I really like some of the breakup we're getting in these clumps. It's got some quite interesting effects in there. So now I've got that frequency, so 1.5 is a solid frequency. So now I need to go in and change the frequency in this guy. So let's go back down to 2. And we're going to have to change the strength as well. For some reason, adding CVs has increased the strength, which is super strange. I feel like this has set it up so that if it's considered a stray, it gets a different frequency, which really would be easier to do as a separate noise, so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to set the stray to 0. Cool, so we can just focus on getting the noise right. Let's pick a clump. Let's go for these guys. This is a good angle. And change the frequency. So let's go to 3 again. Correlation set to 0, so let's go to 4. Let's go rand 1 to 3. I'm just testing random values. I just want to find something that looks good. Let's change that 1 up to a 2. There we go. So we just need to change the magnitudes to be lower. I'm going to change the range on these magnitudes. So let's set that to 1 and set that to 1. And I guess I can get rid of these. There we go. So let's set you to 0. Something I quite like to do in my modifiers, and it's such a cheap, lazy trick, but it works quite well, is I like to have a on-off noise here, so I can just turn it on and off without having to move up to the top and click this little checkbox. All you have to do for that is just add a multiplier at the end of your expression, which is linked to that, and that literally allows you to, without moving your mouse up here, turn the noise on and off. It's the laziest trick, but sometimes the lazy tricks are quite helpful. I need to turn something on to help me see these. I think I might need to go back up in density a little bit. That's a good angle. I think that's a good amount of noise. Let's add a little bit here as well. Is there a way to share primitive attributes between your various descriptions, like width, taper curves? In theory, you should be able to do it with expressions here. This expressions tab, I'm pretty sure, is for your whole collection. So you can add something here and use it across. You can add it in here and use it across all of your grooms. Add a role. I'm not entirely sure how to add a role into interaction actually. If I'm thinking of the same thing that you are. I just tend to do that sort of effect of a low frequency noise. Right, so we've got that working. Now I need to add a separate one. Cool, and then let's just connect that magnitude to my magnitude expression. Come on, there we go. And then I'm going to set percent stray. I'm just going to set the noise off, and then we can just change that. Low frequency noise. Yeah, that's how I tend to do it as well. Can you toggle all the modifiers? As in like a quick switch? I don't think you can, but if you're asking me to turn off all the modifiers, I can do that. Give me a second. So that's what it looks like without modifiers at the moment. So we're getting some interesting flows in there. We do need to fix these kind of steps. They're quite ugly. Then we add our clumping, which do most of the work. I do need to correct the small clumps. They look a bit too strong now. We've increased the CV count. And then we can add all our other things. Set this to auto update. It's a bit low, the percentage. Let's go to 8% strays. There we go. That feels nice and fluffy. The frequency of 1 actually feels alright. So one thing that would be helpful to add, only to a percentage of them though, is a curl on the large clumps. So let's quickly turn that on and do something like that. So adding a curl to large clumps can get a really interesting texture. We need to add a random direction, but if we turn this on and off, it's going to add some interest in there. So let's view it from like an angle like this one. So that's 2. It just gives us like a little twisty thing. Can you fix the texture with the groom? I'm trying to figure out who this person is. Who are you? Alright, so let's add an expression to this. So we want twist min and twist max. So let's do curl min equals, let's go with 1 as a baseline, I guess. And we'll set this to be from 0 to 4. And I'll do 0.0 so you can add like decimals. So you can do like 3.5 and that sort of stuff. Then let's duplicate that and create curl max, which I'll set to 3. And then let's do, I want 50% of them to go one way, 50% go. How is Gav's? Alright, so this is someone at NPC. But who are you? um, uh, I'm gonna guess it's either Ravi or Prashant. Am I right or am I wrong? I might be wrong. Oh, I'm really struggling to figure out who that could be. Right, so for now, let's just do rand, open bracket, close bracket, less than 0.5, question mark. So this will basically, a rand gives you a random number between 0 and 1. Saying less than 0.5 is going to pick half the values. I was in groom. This is going to really drive me slightly mad. In London. Who the fuck? Yeah, I guess they are French, aren't they? But that limits it down to like the whole department at one point. Fuck, who are you? um, I will. I will think about it silently while I do some work. So let's do a rand between. Can you do negative? Can you do negative attributes? Negative curl min and negative curl max. I don't know if that works. If not that, 1. It might work. I was there for 2 years and a half. So was I, and that makes it a French groomer at NPC. Come on. Workflow. Some insider information for you here. Almost everyone was French at one point. French schools produce some really good groom artists. Who could it? Right, 2.5 years. Fuck. You know this is gonna drive me mad, right? Whoever you are. Like, you're doing this intentionally. You're doing this to hurt my feelings. Why is that broken? Why are you broken? The sliders, for some reason, aren't showing the whole thing. Alright, let's have to enter the values then. I was there for 2.5 years, and you're French. Sebs was there for 3 or 4 years. Dito was there for less than 2 years. French. Oh, Guillaume. French Canadian. Is it Guillaume? There we go. We got some curl in there now. So that's that sorted. Yes, brother. How you doing, man? I haven't spoken for a little while. There's quite a few people who have joined this stream who have like not spoken to in ages. It makes me feel like a really bad friend. GG. Nice. Let's set that to 0 as a minimum. Let's set you to 2. I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing? So something I just realised we need to do is we need to add clump map I'm going to do a percent. Zero to 100, and then rand less than percentage. I'm doing this in a really stupid way.
Sounds like a normal thing.
Welcome back.
Doing this in a really stupid way? You mean the normal way?
I'm getting roasted on the stream.
By me?
What? Yeah, by you. I'm having a brain fart right now. We're playing Guess Who with Guillaume.
I know his name.
Yeah. Yeah, he's ex NPC group. French Canadian. Thanks earlier for the Yeti tips. Yeah, no worries, man. I'm really struggling to think right now with this.
Again, sounds like.
But like genuinely, like right now, I've just forgotten how I do this.
Right, tell me. Talk me through it. Go.
I just need to multiply the clump map by a percentage, but for whatever reason, I
You can't write the code?
yeah, it's completely escaped me how I used to do it.
Let me Google it.
You won't find it that easily.
XGen. What would you call that? Description? No. Code?
1 second. Let's do 1 multiplied by. Oh, why would we do that? Actually, we'll just do clump map. Clump map, and if not clump map, then we just do 0. That works.
Is multiply just like a little star?
Yep.
Ah. Using those shitty online calculators. Didn't.
There we go. This just allows me to do like a percentage of hairs that don't clump to the large clumps, and that just breaks it up a little bit. Makes it feel a little bit more natural. With almost no work as well. Also, that person's still trying to break into my Facebook account.
Really?
Yeah, they've been trying now for 6 hours. Let's correct a few of these guides. So, I think that's working. We've got a few things we need to do now to mirror it over, so let's delete these guides, mirror these ones. So that's that, but now we need to go into our maps. So we've got Clumpo 1 mask, which, oh, fatal error. RIP. When was the last time I saved? Well, I guess it's saving a backup file now, but... Come on, play nice, crash quickly.
I was telling my mom about like savings.
What, sorry?
I was telling mom about savings.
Oh, yeah?
And she's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, maybe randomly she made me. She was like, maybe something you should look into is about buying a house in Belfast and renting it out as the prices and interest rates are very low. And I was like, no. And she's like, why? And I was like, because if you missed a couple of months' rent, my rent in London is already a significant chunk of my income. If someone wants to buy me a house in London, I will send you nothing.
Alright, so let's save that scene manually. Good to see you doing well, Mike. Can't wait to see the final product. Yeah, me neither. I'm hoping to see the final products at some point too.
We'll get them there.
Yeah, we'll push through. I'm sure that once I start showing the look dev and I have to start doing hair look dev, that's when I'm going to start crashing, I think, and I have to just push through it. Send some greetings to Autodesk through the crash window. Yeah, sometimes I always forget to do that, actually. Alright, let me just, off screen, I need to set the affinity of Maya. Cool. Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that you're doing well as well. Gim. Realize I left a big gap in speech there.
You never messaged me.
Hmm?
Who is?
Alright. Alright, so we got
I
Fur
know
Neck.
the name, but I don't know the name.
It's Guillaume Mayer, I think. Mayer. You can find it through my friends list.
Oh, I know.
He used to always have a whiskey, which was really good. He had like the best whiskey.
I don't think I ever met you.
I don't think he did. He left quite a while before you got to London, I think. I don't think you would have ever met him at the pub when you came to London before you lived here.
Seymour's boy? No.
Mouse boy. Oh, person did the mouse. No, that's Josh. That's what I was looking for. Cool. Right. So we got our guides mirrored, I think. Yep. We need to obviously break up those guides later, but for now, let's go into. Let's check this map. That looks correct. Looks like it's mostly mirrored. We need to clean up this outer line though.
Oh, I need to sign.
But that is something I'll come back to later. Let's go into modifiers. What?
I don't know how. I've never used Vine in my life, but for some reason Vine is like pinned on my desktop, and I'm like, what?
Right, so all we need to do for this is do the same effect. So again, for anyone that missed it earlier, I always recommend breaking up your clump maps not with value, but with actual like, texture, like what this side's got. It gives you a much more natural effect in the end. It's something that I've seen like quite a lot of really solid groomers do.
Alright there, Mr.
What? I'm not saying I came up with it or that I'm a solid groomer. I'm just saying where I stole it from. Right, so let's just do random squiggles. Oh, I've got pen pressure on. Oh, I'll need to turn that off in a sec. Why do I keep painting through? Well, not painting through anything, I'm just painting around it by accident. Those are vaguely similar. So let's save that. Extend seam. And then I need to do, was it this one? And then noise. I think it was this guy. Let's set that to yeah, so I need to paint a big dot on this guy. Save textures, next gen, and then safety. There we go. think we're getting something that feels a lot more natural than earlier. Let's do a test render from the back. See if this feels right or wrong. The post on CG Grooming Artist just got 230 likes. Yeah, that's the most I've ever had in there. It might be a bit low on the density, perhaps. But texture-wise, these are kind of matching each other now. Yeah, we're definitely a bit low on density. Let's kill that render. Let's put density back up to what it was, which was 1,000. I'm quite lucky with this groom in that, like, really nice round numbers are the correct numbers to use. Like 1,000 is giving me approximately the right hair count, which is super rare that you get that lucky. Let that calculate again. Hate the ID. Why can't I get rid of it? Oh, so why is... Oh, that's why. So it might look a little bit too matted for my taste. Maybe it's working. It's got a bit of a shelf though. This stuff here doesn't look very good. I think we're starting to get somewhere though. Let me try the other ear. See what he's doing. So something I want to get rid of if I can is this. We've got a square clump. V-rate? No, this is Renderman.
See the heaviness of the render and the chugging of
yeah, so we need to pull back. I think the easiest way to get rid of this without drastically changing the look too much, I might add some cut to the clump 2s, which will kind of change the length of these, and that will naturally get rid of square clumps as well, or at least square clump 1s. So let's give that a go, and then re-render that area. I'm not going to move my camera, I'm just going to go into modifiers, add a cut effect, and set this to rand 0.0 to 0.2, and that will shorten the whole groom just a little bit, but it will reduce the chance of those square clumps. So let's just save that, and then let's do a IPR. Cut on the clumps is something I need to add to my other grooms as well. Oh yeah, something really cool earlier that you missed. Sam Rowan popped by.
Oh, did he? That's sweet.
He put 2 comments. He was like, well, he only put 1 comment directly on the video. He commented on a different video before. He was just like, holy shit. For some reason, apparently he didn't know that I was doing these live streams. I was pretty sure that I told him I was doing them ahead of time.
Maybe he just didn't notice it.
Yeah. Either that or I didn't make it that clear. Cut modifier then. Yeah, I've got a cut modifier in the hair, but I think adding a cut to the clumps will help.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is my finished groom. Represents my soul and my heart. Right, let's give that a second just to finish 1 round. Okay, let me finish the second one actually, just so I've got more and render within that. So adding a pretty subtle cut to the clumps obviously changes the length of the whole hair. One problem we do have is because we're not clumping a percentage of the hairs, they won't be affected by this cut, so we might find that the clumps retreat into the hair a little bit, which is going to be quite awkward, but basically how that's kind of helping get rid of those squares. They're still kind of there, but now they're pointy, so they're not really squares anymore, which is helpful. Do I have my render from yesterday available? Go save up my desktop, I think, just because it's a temporary image. So it's not going to match up perfectly. Yeah, that's the difference. So this is like kind of the start of this stream without all the clump breakup and that sort of stuff, and then this is with a bit of clump breakup. It really makes a big difference because the actual modifiers on the hair are barely different. They're not really changed at all. But adding that clump breakup, I apologise for the movement, but there's not really much I can do about that. But yeah, like that's how big of a difference clump modifiers make. Like you should do a lot of your grooming in the clump modifiers. Also blends relatively successfully, which is something I didn't really expect. I haven't done a blending pass on it yet. What did you share from the FMX conference, Becca?
I don't remember.
It's 14 minutes ago.
I share a little thing.
You share a lot of things, that's true. In the last 14 minutes, how many yellow pages have you shared?
Oh, it was their online conferences.
Oh, that's cool.
A lot of them are now releasing, like online stuff.
That's really cool. I really miss FMX. I went there a couple of years ago. It was really, really fun. Right, so we've got this in place. This is working. It's looking a lot better now. Last question before I go: which one is more friendly for you, XGen, Legacy, or for the name we can't? So for me personally, we can say fertility. It's a public tool now. It's not obviously released publicly, but if like you can find, the fact it's called fertility and the fact NPC use it online. NPC's got a R&D NPC page dedicated to it, so we can name it. But personally, I prefer fertility, but that's because I've used it professionally for 2.5 years. So I've gotten used to kind of the things that you have to do differently and the strengths it has. Like its noise modifier, I think, is the best noise modifier I've ever used. It's really, really nice. It has so many controls, arguably too many controls, but it's really, really nice. It's one of the reasons that NPC is quite well known for its fur, is because it's got a solid groom tool. Films like The Lion King wouldn't have been possible, I think, with XGen. So I personally prefer fertility, but that is because I spent years learning it. I think if I didn't spend years learning it, XGen would be easier to pick up. Although XGen, I'd argue, has a harder pipeline to use. I can't explain the reasons for that, because that would be very NDA.
Yeah.
But XGen pipeline is infamously bad, and fertility pipeline I think is quite nice.
You bake it and then you put it in the oven.
You bake it and you put it in the oven.
And then it spills.
But yeah, I mean, Gregor's like you got to use fertility obviously a little bit, so the pipeline. It's quite clean, especially compared to fertility. But I'd say that's the most I can say on that. Oh, Ian's back. Hey, Ian. Right, so Ian, just to catch you up, we've worked on the ears pretty much at, like, not final, but they're blocked out. So this is what we had yesterday. The kind of general clumping was there, but not enough noise, not enough breakup. It was very weird feeling. Now we've got a bit more clump breakup, a little bit more work on the... it's mostly work on the clumps, to be honest. The actual noises and cut hasn't changed very much. It's just clump work and a little bit of guide work. I really wish I'd lined up the cameras. Yeah. Yeah, viewport though. XGen. I don't think anything beats XGen viewport, to be honest. Like, I can't think of a single groom tool that exists that has a better viewport than XGen. It's just so nice. Although once the industry really takes control of that Disney render, I forgot the name of it. Once what's the name of it? Is it Presto? No, it's not Presto. That's their animation tool. The Pixar viewport rendering tool. I think once that's adapted.
Is it not like a real time one though?
Yeah, it is real time. But yeah, it's really good. Like, it can do not properly ray trace, but it can do global illumination translucency properly. So once groom tools start picking that up, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be basically a render quality. Because obviously, although XGen's viewport is very nice and gives you a very good understanding of the final image, it is different when you render it. That's why rendering constantly is important. But with the stuff they demoed for Pixar, it's
Well, did you not see the stuff that they did for Finding Dory? The coral reef environments.
Yeah.
It's all real time. It's it's friggin' incredible. But it's their in-house tools. It's not like Unity. It's not like Unreal. It's their
it's
tools.
Presto is the name of their tool, right?
Yeah, but this is I can't remember what it's their own in-house Unreal setup.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Presto is their animation software, and then they've got the renderer within that. I need to figure out why this is happening, because the guides, in theory, are completely covering this region, so there's no reason for hair to go through, but it is. This guide is a bit too short. Something I'm just now realizing. groom. So let's move on to a different part of the groom. Does anyone have any requests for what part of the groom they want me to move on to? We're gonna leave the ears alone, or at least the back of the ears. We could do the inside of the ears, although I haven't figured out exactly what I want there, so I won't do that today. Back of the head we'll leave alone, even though there is still work to do. We'll leave that alone. We could work on getting this side like finalized, and then start working on this side to kind of match it. We could work on the head hair. We could work on the body. Is that hair tube shader? Yeah, it's hair tube shader, the old one. I really like it. It's super, super nice. With like maximum anti-aliasing, like set to 16 samples in the viewport. Although I'm not using the anti-aliasing, not anti-aliasing, I'm not using the this boy, ambient occlusion, just because it is a bit too visually noisy for me. Have you seen Pixar USD file? Yeah, I've seen USDs. They're really cool. I'll be back in a minute, guys. While I'm gone, if you guys want to like kind of figure out what you want to see, we could do the neck. We could do. Oh, you need to go.
Yes,
All right. Yeah. Okay. Right, I'm gonna be at my desk for another minute or so. Yeah, so we can work on either the neck groom and get that to match this stuff. We could work on this section and then mirror over to this side. We could work on the top of the head. We could work on the body, or I think the face grooms are okay for now. Or we could like figure out the inside of the ear, but that's something again like artistically I'm not sure what I want. So if you guys want to decide, or just like pitch what sort of thing you'd like to see, or that sort of stuff. I just need to go to the toilet. Hydra viewport, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Hydra looks absolutely beautiful. Once that's implemented into Groom Tools, that'll be just amazing. Yeah, really not very keen on this front section. Right, I'm back in a minute, guys.
Hey, can I have a glass of cinnamon, please? Oh.
How's everybody doing tonight? Just casually putting the washing away. Background. That's the name of the viewport, Hydra.
Right, I'm back. Right. Oh, we've had some people join the stream while I've been gone. Apologies for being banished while people arrived. I'm sure you were very entertained by absolutely nothing happening the whole time you were here so far.
Hey, I told them that I was doing washing away.
Cool.
They enjoyed it.
They enjoyed it. They came here to listen to my girlfriend talk about putting the washing away.
Stop.
Oh, you're cool. When we're talking about look dev, I think quite a lot of people are interested in that. But people don't join the stream for laundry.
Huh?
People don't join the stream for laundry. I think at some point we should actually just chat about look dev. I think that'd be quite fun. Right. We need to close this hole. We don't have it at the front, but we do have it on this side. I just got a message on Access VFX.
What's it?
Uh,
I got locked out of my Slack and couldn't get in.
oh, there we go. He's back. One of the guys I'm mentoring is back. I've not heard anything from him for like 3 weeks.
Somebody messaged me for I had like a conversation that kind of ended, but there was no answer. If you know what I mean?
That's the thing. I got connected to one student and he's still not sent his first message, and that was a month ago.
I would definitely contact them. They're pretty good at getting you signed up over other people.
Yeah, I'm thinking of asking if I can get that one student taken off me, because he literally hasn't even said hello yet.
Yeah, because I
like the other two people, and to be fair, one of the other people I'm mentoring literally messaged me once and then never replied. Whereas Sandeep, he's the guy who just replied to me now. Like he's been busy with, I think, probably with group project for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But he was really good at like keeping up to date on stuff and sending me updates.
Yeah, because I remember it was like the drawovers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's fix the mask because I'm not sure where that's coming from. That's going to fur head. Fringe breakups. Yeah, fringe breakups are going to be something that's worth doing. Let's check this mask. Okay, so this one is part of the problem. So let's go in solid brush. So we're following this topology line basically. So it's the one after. So if I go one loop back, and how many up from there? 2? Cool. So that's the line I'm taking. Oh, I passed here, that's why. So if I just continue down this, does it reach further back? It does go further back. So now we shouldn't have as much of a gap between our grooms. Because obviously you don't want grooms overlapping too much, but at the same time you do need to see you do need to have a tiny bit of overlap just so you can't see the scalp. So now if we show that and then show the ear groom, there we go. We can't see through it as much anymore. We've got some guide issues going on here. We're also going to need to do the front of the ears at some point. Because the front of the ears, just to find that ref again, at some point need to look like this. These really nice like strokes. So I'm going to have to put a fair bit of effort in to get those at some point. I am still debating separating those into a separate groom, just so I can do guide, like in one of the very few cases where I'd use guide clumping is this. So I can literally just place a guide there, guide there, guide, 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 guide. So I think 7 guides and I'll be able to get this matched. Whereas doing it procedurally, I can get something that feels close, but I think in this case I just want to match the shapes. And that is so much easier to do with guide clumping, just for such simple flowy shapes. Right, so I guess I'm going to work on the fringe breakups. Let me just do one thing first though. I want to go into the head, and then I want to like mirror these guides over. First off though, how am I going to do it? Do I just mirror in front of the ear? I guess I could do. So let's just delete in front of the ear and clear that selection. Cool. Delete all those. And then let's just select in front of the ear. Okay. So we're going to get a few guides in the same spot here. So I need to go through and clean those out. So I got that one as well. I don't know which one's new, but in this case I don't care. I'd assume that one's the old one. I sent that through, didn't I? No, I didn't. So that will just add a little bit of breakup to the other side. Obviously it's perfectly symmetrical, but we did need some breakup over there. There we go. It's a lot more interesting. Still feels a bit too solid as a whole though. But at least we got some general breakup. It now works from more angles because of that. Right, I'm just going to run and grab a drink and then I'll get on with the fringe breakup. I need to figure out how I'm going to do that because I'm not 100% sure yet. If you don't mind opening it for digestives, we can get you top up tomorrow. Pardon? There we go. Right, so how's everyone's night doing anyway? Everyone okay? It's just turned 10 o'clock, so we've got about an hour left. Obviously, in terms of today, we have got quite a bit done on the ears, which I guess so we've got some level of progress. So I'll probably spend about an hour on the fringe, and then on the next stream, I'll work on the neck groom, just because the neck groom is very underdeveloped at the moment.
And let's munch in this crunch.
What's that?
Let's munch in this crunch.
Munch. These biscuits are really breaking apart. No one
Do you
mouse.
not make the floor all crummy, you crummy man?
I vacuum like once every 2 days. Right. So let's figure out the fringe. So first thing I'm noticing, things that we need to do. I think the thickness of these lines is okay. Where is? There he is. So I think the thickness of these lines is okay, but the general silhouette should be. Let's change colour. The general silhouette should be more like that. And then we need this clump coming in, which is there, but it needs to be defined. So I think to achieve that, we're going to need to do like a hair tucking in, like some clumps tucking in, and then these ones are kind of rolling under themselves, which we do have. So we need to get our guides right first, so we're going to need to do all that first. We'll need to pull this in a bit further actually, so it like crosses the cheekbone a little bit. I do need to make the cheekbones less defined as well, because these are less defined, so I will have to go back to my model. Other than that, I think the general silhouette is okay. Maybe we need to skew this to one side, so like do something like that. Obviously not that intense, but I feel like adding an offset peak will help make this feel a bit more natural, because at the moment it's almost a perfect dome. So if we do something like that silhouette wise, that might help quite a lot, and then like, you know, spike some stuff out. That will do quite a lot of work for us. And then let's pick a separate colour. After that, something that we need to do is get the stray clumps in, which kind of do that stuff up there. Kind of come in and break up these lines. So that kind of a layer sat on top almost. And then the thing after that I need to do, I need to figure out somehow how to do it, is I need to start defining some bigger clumps in here while still keeping a solid coverage, which is quite a tricky thing to do sometimes. Like whenever you define clumps, you're naturally covering less of the head because there's gaps in the hair now whenever you clump it. So maybe I need to raise the percentage of hairs that are clumped, but then I'm affecting the back of the groom as well. So it could, in theory, be worth splitting the front groom into its own thing, but at the same time I could just also map it, so I'll probably do that. We also need to, if I go back here, we need to pull this side in. So below this point, it should kind of dive in a little bit because the silhouette needs to be pulled in more. So if I pick this color, I need to do that. That will help quite a lot. Because the reason I need to do that, visually at least, is because on this side we want a clump that's coming in, pointing in more. So if we have that, and we have this growing out, it's just kind of, it would just feel really boring. Whereas if we have this curve in, maybe if we have that curve in as well, it's giving us some quite nice shapes if we do that. I don't understand design theory enough to give you the exact reasons why that works. Well, so I don't understand design theory enough. I don't understand design theory. I haven't really done it, so I just feel like that would work a lot nicer. But yeah, so back to that color up here. So we need to find a way to get some flow variation within this shape in kind of a clumpy type way, but without generating gaps. If we want to capture the feeling of this concept. Because obviously concept grooming, that's one of the unique things of it, is you can't just match it. There's always things that you have to sacrifice to get the shapes. Yeah, if I remove this painting though, it makes quite a big difference. So let's drag that over. I'm going to increment save while I eat my biscuit. Right. While I'm at it, let's see if we can find any good monkey hair ref. I want to see what shapes we can pull from the real monkeys. Because they're really small, you'll find that their hair is quite thick, like this. That's not something I'm really too interested in doing, to be honest. I really do quite like the texture we have in terms of the thickness of the hairs. But maybe for clumping, we can take some inspiration from this. Alright, see you, Andrew. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Or Andrew, sorry. I hate Andrew. Yeah, I think we can get some inspiration from the clumps for this. They're like kind of long and sticky. This thing's adorable. Hey, Becca.
Oh.
Glad you see it. This is potentially a really good image if it cleans up. Open image in new tab. That's a tiny image. Let's see if we can get the full res. Ooh! Why do you have to be the background image though? Where's the background image? Oh, there we go. There we go. Got it. So I'm not going to download this because to get this image in this quality I've had to go into the HTML of a website. So I feel a bit dodgy actually downloading it. So I'm going to just drag that off onto the other screen and keep it. There we go. So let's make a start. Hide the groom. Grab just the guides at the front. My voice has gone really funny. Let's drink. There we go. So, deselect these guys. Let's go into the guide. Turn off lock length. And then let's start pushing and pulling that shape around. So that will get a bit more of that shape forced in. And then let's add some of these guides to the selection. We need to add some more stuff back here, I think. But then let's force that slant that we want. So do something like that. Pull these up. And then I'm going to need to add a guide in here. This is way too empty. So let's just go Xgen, add a guide there. And then I'm going to scale him up. Turn on lock length again. So I generally don't like using lock length turned off. And then let's pull him to match one side. Which side should match? I think this way. He needs to be longer again though. And then let's do the same for this guide. We want to start getting that sideways variation in a little bit. Cool. I think the stray clumps that sit on top, I'm going to do that as part of a separate groom for matted clumps. I'll just turn off the matting in that area and give me some more control. This guide is really struggling. There we go. So let's check if our silhouette is fixed from that. It won't be fixed over here, but it might be fixed. Yeah, so now we're getting that kind of offset shape, which helps quite a lot with the helmet feeling that it had. Although this is still pretty hollow feeling, so we're going to need to fix this area. I need to figure out how though. Like I could do longer hairs that curl in more. That would allow me to fill that region. You going to bed?
I'm going to
Okay. Let me know before you go to sleep, yeah?
What?
So that I can end the stream.
Like, Mike, I fall asleep in 30 seconds.
You do, but still.
Oh, you want me cuddle?
Well, yeah, of course.
We cuddle.
You're cute as fuck.
We cuddle.
Let me go on public record as saying my girlfriend is cute as fuck.
For the record today, I showed it at Mike because his, what was it that was annoying?
My hiccups were annoying
Your
you.
hiccups were so annoying.
We are at stage 10 of isolation.
But then it progressed because he did a really loud hiccup, and then he couldn't stop laughing, and then I couldn't stop laughing, and then I cried, and I burnt myself at lunch today cooking food, and he grabbed the bit with the burn.
Not intentionally, may I add.
Uh-huh.
Totally intentionally.
Uh-huh.
Completely intentionally, of course.
Your face whenever you did it as well, because we just froze, looked at each other, and I went, ow!
I felt so instantly bad. I've never felt so bad so quickly.
You smacked me in the face by accident before as well. So.
How long ago was that though?
Like when we first started dating.
And I remember being the most apologetic person possibly ever.
Played it up.
Oh, you played the fuck out of it. I know that.
No,
I knew that
had
even back
so
then.
much pain.
I still find it hilarious that earlier today, like, he was genuinely annoyed by my hiccups.
They were just so loud. They literally shake the table.
I do have very loud hiccups.
But they're not even like. It's not even like he's doing it on purpose. They're so loud.
That's what you think.
If you do them again, I will throw a pillow at your head.
A pillow?
And pin it to your head, and then
Pin it to my
your
head.
to the ground.
As in, like, literally with a pin.
No.
That'd be quite uncomfortable.
Smother you.
Just smother me. Smother me with gifts and food. Alright, let's scale him up a little bit. So, I'm really glad I've added this color randomization to the guides, because otherwise I'd have no idea what's going on in this area. It would be so hard to tell. I think I'm going to have to pull this in now rather than later. So let's go in, do that now. So I think technically it's already the right height. So we just need to pull it in more. Maybe have it literally touch the face. There we go. There's still too much of a blend between these two. I think we'll have to move the guides to get rid of that. So let's get you. So let's see if that helps. Doesn't help enough, but it does help. The strays are kind of gross though. The problem is that we got hairs doing like some crazy curl and then immediately uncurled in this area. So maybe we do have to kind of bite the bullet a bit and manually unfold it, but in a way that hides the unfolding. Like that. And then I'm going to have to do the same with you. So let's do that. See if this works. Still got 9 people watching. That's really cool. That didn't fix it. If anything, it made it worse. My favourite kind of progress. However, it is working better as a whole. This is too clean though. Let's see if we can figure out a shape. So currently we have that, which is feeling very 50s. That last line isn't good though. That line isn't good either. Let's just trace it slowly. I need to fill this out a bit more because currently it's a bit too broken. I need to fill that gap just a little bit. But this is too clean. I need something to break this. What could we do? Groovy. Yep. It's got like that 50s or 70s kind of disco vibe. Definitely pulling this down will help. And then this just needs to be less smooth, so we need to add like a visible tuck. I think that will help. So rather than having it blend so perfectly. And maybe add a layer on top that would break that. And that would help. Although I think this just being so smooth is probably what's doing it as well. So maybe if we did that, that would help. Yeah, that will help a lot. So, how are we going to do it? I don't know. Let's just try... Let's try with this guide first. So I need him to tuck in. That already helps a little bit. Is this line being too smooth now? I think if I grow this out and then force the hair to kind of match a bit closer, that will fill that in a little bit more. Let's just test if that worked, just for this little region. Yeah, that helps. Alright, cool. So, it means we just need to get you, scale you up a little bit, compensate for the extra scale by pulling this in. It's actually way too big, actually. And then I think the side-to-side breakup that we want to add will do a lot of the rest of the work for us. So I think now we need to get some large comp breakup back in. So let me check my clump maps. I don't have a map in you, so let's check the map for this guy. Yeah, so let's add some clumps back in. Tools. Just gonna add some random patches of clump. Cool, see if that works. Save that texture. Save that P-tex. This might be completely broken now. No, that helps. That definitely helps. Actually gets a few of those broad strokes in without breaking everything. I still need to fix the crown. The crown's so bad. One second. There we go. Let's see how that's doing. I've realised what's wrong. The height of the front is way off. This is like half the height. And that's why one of the reasons it feels so wrong. So I need to flatten the top of it completely. Pull it down to about here. How have I not noticed that until now? So, action. Yeah, it's got so much volume. Jesus. Can I do this? I mean, I can. Sometimes the hackiest solutions are the best ones. That helps so much. Can I get the old camera angle back? No, I can't. That might still not be enough though. Yeah, the height is completely what's wrong with that. Or one of the many things that's wrong with that. Cheekbone still needs pulling in a lot though. Let's see how big of a difference this makes. I need to go more extreme. So let's go more extreme. And this time I'm not going to move my camera. I'm going to have to create a new camera. Panel, perspective, new. Just so I don't move it. Let's grab all these and scale those. I have to do a little bit of work on these guys afterwards, but I might now be too flat. That's 100% going to be too flat. Yeah, it is. Can I undo? That's a miracle. The guides still work. So let's just do that. Nice and subtle. Maybe these side sections need to come down. Don't like bookmarks. What do you mean, sorry? The ears feel too big and fluffy now. Saves temporary camera positions. Oh, I didn't know about that. That's really cool. I'll check that out after the stream. Needs more of a bump just there. This section needs to be changed as well. Let's just grab this guide and this guide. And this section here needs to change. I also realised that we're pulling forward too much stuff in this area. So let's have him go back. That's feeling better. Yes, I think we're a bit too fluffy on the ears. We need to flatten those down a bit because they feel super thick now. I feel like teddy bear ears. That's something we only really feel from the front. But it is going to affect every angle. So to fix that, we're not going to do it in this stream because this stream is going to end pretty soon. But we just need to flatten all these guides so they're closer to the skin because the skin itself works fine. It's just we're adding too much volume with that fur. I've still got to add a fuzzy section here as well to match this stuff. But yeah, we'll do that in the next stream, which I think will be on Thursday. So I'm going to kick off tonight's progress render. Let me just quickly check something. Let me close PureF. Cool. IPL that. And let's, when this pops up, come on. This won't look that different because we spent most of our time on the back of the head again, or the back of the ears in this case. But yeah, I'm going to end the stream at this point, guys, so I'm just going to let this kind of render on stream. If anyone has any questions or anything they want to ask before they go, or before I go, let me know. I'll turn off the stream in about 5 minutes, so at 11:15. A little bit earlier than normal, but I went to get in bed early because I woke up early this morning. I think we made some pretty decent progress though. It's not perfect, but it's definitely getting better. Yeah, we gained way too much volume on the ears. But I like the length, so we're going to have to flatten that. Getting there. Yeah, good night, Ian. Thanks for that, man. Kind of like this from the first version, so I might try to recover that in the next stream. That's kind of cool. Cool. Well, I'm going to turn the stream off, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. I hope everyone's doing well, and hopefully see you guys on Thursday. Bye.